rest of this chapter, we'll talk about halachas of reading of the Torah. And the next chapter is going to talk about halachas of a shul, building a shul, being in a shul, where to build a shul, etc. And we're going to transition away from halachas laws of Megillah and to continue with different halachas which are connected with topics which are connected with Megillah, as is the way of the Mishna and the Gemara. This is what the Rambam, whose yahrzeit is today, was very unique. Until the time of the Rambam, if you wanted to know about, let's say, Hilchas Tzitzis, you had a question in Tzitzis, so then you would have to find the Gemara which talks about Tzitzis. Which Gemara talks about Tzitzis? Maybe the label knows, or Dovi knows which halacha talks about, which Mesechta and Gemara talks about the laws of Tzitzis. Chulin, you said Chulin, and Menachos has a few chapters which deal with tzitzis, right? One of them called Tcheles, and Menachos are the laws of sacrifices, the flour offerings in the Beis Hamikdash. In addition, many chapters in Gemara have a name which not necessarily do you know from the title what it's talking about. For example, the chapter we're in now is called Perek HaKoirei, chapter of the one who reads. Is he reading Shema? He's reading the Megillah. There's many different chapters. Some are called Ketzad, which means how. How what? How do you make your grandmother's chocolate chip cookies? Like how what? How does you pay for damages? And the Rambam divided the entire Torah according to topic, as opposed to according to the 6 orders of the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. So b'sheni v'chamishi v'mincha karin shleisha. Regarding to Torah readings, we're going to go in the order now of the days that you read the Torah, starting from the number of aliyahs from low to high. How many people do you call to the Torah? So first, we're going to mention all the days that you call 3 people to the Torah, 3 aliyahs. B'sheni v'chamishi, on Mondays and Thursdays, we read the Torah. Ezra, the scribe, saw that many Jews were not learning Torah at all during the week, and he said that you should not go 3 days without learning Torah. So he said that Mondays and Thursdays, we read the Torah out loud in shul. And already from Moshe Rabbeinu, already on Shabbos, we've been reading the Torah on Shabbos. So Mondays, Thursdays, we read the Torah, where we give 3 aliyahs. We call it 3 people. There's a rule called Malin B'Kodesh. We always go up in holiness. On Chanukah, we go from 1 candle to 2 to 3 and keep on adding it because Malin B'Kodesh, you keep on going up and higher in holiness. When one gets older, it's a time to add achlata, the Rebbe says, not to become more lenient, but to become more vigilant in Torah and mitzvahs. So every holiday, which is more holy, we add another aliyah to the Torah for that day. So the most, you can say, basic level is Mondays and Thursdays, as well as Shabbos Mincha. Now, when Moshe Rabbeinu decreed to read the Torah on Shabbos, he said to read the Parsha. What's interesting is there's understandings which say Moshe Rabbeinu actually said that we should read the Torah on Monday and Thursday as well. Ezra is the one who made it a system. Ezra said the Jews are divided into castes. Which 3? We have the highest caste called the Kohanim. Then we have the Leviim, all from Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi. And then the lowest rung is the vast majority of the Jewish people, Israel. And each one of them is holier and more sanctified than the other one. So you have to give an aliyah, a special aliyah just for a Kohen, and a special aliyah just for a Levi. And then a third aliyah for Yisrael. So therefore, you need a minimum of 3 aliyahs being called to the Torah. 3 people called, 1 a Kohen, 1 a Levi, 1 a Yisrael. Each one you have to call to read to the Torah, and reading, a significant reading, is not less than 3 psukim. 3 psukim times 3 is 9. You need a minimum of 9 psukim. And he said you need a minimum of 10 psukim to have a complete topic. So therefore, we have 10 psukim at least on every Torah reading. On Monday, Thursday, every aliyah has at least 3 psukim, 3 verses. And therefore, if you have an aliyah that's less than 3 verses, you have to add an extra verse, an extra pasuk. And there's going to be more rules. We'll play around as we'll see soon in the Gemara that you have to go at least 3 verses into a new paragraph in the Torah. You can't do just one verse, one pasuk into a new paragraph. You can't stop in the middle of a topic. You have to be sort of at the end of a topic between every aliyah. And we try as hard as we could that every aliyah should end off in a positive manner, in a positive sense, with positive words. And therefore, we'll add an extra pasuk or 2 or 3 in order to conclude with a positive words. Is living Torah this past week. If you've seen it, the Rebbe was also very insistent that everything has to end off in a positive sense. When the first Haggadah was printed, with all the Rebbe's explanations and sichas on the Haggadah, and they gave it into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe looked at it, and a few minutes later, the Rebbe handed it back, and the Rebbe says, at the very last line in the entire Haggadah, on the footnote even, was quoting in Gemara, which talks about a child who dies. In Mesa Yeled, if the child dies. The Rebbe says you cannot end off a sefer on such a note. You can't end off especially Haggadah on a note of a child who dies. And therefore, there were 10,000 copies that were printed of the Haggadah. The Rebbe says you have to add on, make a rubber stamp with the words L'shan haba b'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, and stamp every single Haggadah with the stamp underneath those words that it should conclude on a good note, on a positive note. L'shan haba b'Yerushalayim. And it stamped all 10,000, and there's only one that didn't stamp, which was the sample, which was in the Rebbe's room. And then about a few hours later, they get a phone call from the Rebbe. The Rebbe's to the secretary, and whenever the Rebbe called, it was very serious because the Rebbe would not talk on the phone at all, unless to the secretary, rare exceptions. And the Rebbe said, there's one copy that you forgot to put the stamp of L'shan haba b'Yerushalayim, and that's a sample that you brought to my room. And they stamped that one as well. The words L'shan haba b'Yerushalayim. So when you read the Torah, you'll add on sometimes extra psukim to the number 3 in order to conclude on a positive note. Then Ezra added on a 3rd time to read the Torah on Mincha on Shabbos. Why? It says Mesechta Baba Kama, because there were the Yoshvei Kronis, those who sat on the corners, those who sat on the stoops, those who sat outside. And they would just waste their time on Shabbos, and sometimes wouldn't be there for the morning Torah reading. And because of that, Ezra also said that we should read the Torah on Mincha and Shabbos. Now, we're not reading the past Torah week's portion, so you read for the coming week. So Sheni v'Chamishi v'Shabbos Mincha Kurin Shlosha, on Monday, on Thursday, and Shabbos by Mincha. Then we must have at least 3 people called, or at most also 3 people called to the Torah, because, as we said, Ezra said you need a Kohen, a Levi, and a Israel to be called up to the Torah. Originally, when people were called to the Torah, and they still do this among the Yemenites, exactly, is that when they call a person to the Torah, the person themselves will be the Bal Koreh. They would read the Torah. That was all good and well when Lashon Kodesh, the Holy Tongue, was everyone's first language. So therefore, everyone was able to read the Torah properly. But now, to be a Bal Koreh, to learn how to read the Torah, you have to learn Hilchas, Halachas of Diktuk, how the words are. Therefore, we have a Bal Koreh, one designated person who reads the Torah for everyone else. But therefore, that's why over here in the Mishnah, when you're calling someone to the Torah, it says Koirin. Three people read the Torah. We don't actually have three different people reading the Torah now, but in times of the Mishnah, you had three different people reading the Torah. So that's why the Mishnah says over here, Koirin Shleisha. On Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos Mincha, three people read the Torah. Ein Porchesin Mehen, the Ein Meisifin Alehen. You can't have less than three people reading the Torah because of the Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. And you can't have more than three people reading the Torah because of
Tirchet Tzibur?
that's a good answer. Tirchet Tzibur. On Monday, Thursdays, people are going to work. And therefore, you can't add more aliyos because people are running to work. Very good answer.
Oh, yes, so Shabbos we have more, but that doesn't
Shabbos, you
matter,
get more.
because on Shabbos, you better not be going to work.
Correct. What about Shabbos Mincha? Could you add more?
No,
Because no one's going to work Shabbos Mincha.
so how come
We don't add more. Because Novi hit the nail on the head, Rabbi Asper, and he says that on a day that people are working, we don't add more aliyos. However, there's a second reason why we can't add more aliyos. More people call to the Torah is because if you would add another one, let's say on a Monday or Thursday, you would have four aliyos. And that's equal to the next level up, which is Rosh Chodesh. And since there's a rule, Malin Makodesh, you ascend in holiness. The holier the day, the more aliyos people called up to the Torah on that day. So therefore, they can't add another aliyah on Monday because then it looks like it's on the same level of sanctity of holiness as Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed, which are more holy than a Monday and a Thursday.
What is everything?
So we said that Tircha de Tzibura, you should not
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
and not to bother the community who have to all get to work. It's a burden for those who have to go to work.
Not prolong sure.
Right, and he says further on that those that on Shabbos, many people already learned Torah the whole day on Shabbos, spent a long day learning Torah, and therefore you only have three aliyahs as well.
Next one,
Yeah?
the next year 4, or you're talking about?
No, you don't do more than three by Mincha on Shabbos. Ein Mesif and Alein, you don't do less, you don't do more. The Ein Maftirin Benavi. There's a special thing called there's a Torah and then there's a half Torah, which is when the Jews couldn't read the Torah. The government of the time, whether it was the Greeks or the Romans, as we learned in Mesechta Tainus, we couldn't.
With the time of the Maccabees, actually,
So
where
the Greeks.
The Greeks were trying to get us to not observe Judaism anymore.
But they said you could read Navi, you could read the prophets.
Yeah.
Right, so 21a2. So the said you could read prophets, and it has to be similar. We're going to learn all about the Haftarah in the Gemara. The Haftarah has to be at least 21 psukim, 21 verses, just like the Torah reading has to be at least 21 verses of 7 aliyahs, 7 people called up. Each one has at least 3 psukim, 3 verses. So the half Torah has to be at least how many psukim?
21.
21.
The 7 times 3 is 21.
Very good. Except that there's some haftarahs which are not 21 psukim, are shorter if it talks about a complete topic. But the haftarah is a special thing for when you're supposed to read the Torah in public. And so we don't do that Torah on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos. And for the same reason that Dovi said. This is from a student of Rashi, who quotes us obviously Rashi from his Rebbe, called the Machzer Vitry. He lived in a town called Vitry in France. And the Machzer Vitry, he writes that we don't want to, if people have to go to work, we don't say the Haftarah on that time. People are going to work. So Monday, Thursday, Chol Hamoed, where you're allowed to do some types of work, we don't say Haftarah. On days where you don't work, then we do say Haftarah. So Tisha B'Av, Yom Kippur, Yom Tov, Shabbos, on those days, we do say Haftarah. Hapeseach v'achosem b'Torah, mevarech lefaneha u'lachareha. The one who gets an aliyah to the Torah is the one who makes a blessing. But what he says, the first one to get to read the Torah and the last one to conclude the reading of the Torah, those are the ones who make the blessing. We have everyone who gets an aliyah to the Torah makes a blessing before and makes a blessing after. In the times of the Mishnah, it says that only one blessing was made by in the beginning of the entire Torah reading. And one blessing was made after the last person was called to read the Torah. But all the middle readers did not make any bracha at all. The one who made the bracha, the blessing, was the one who read the Torah. So people wanted to have either the first aliyah or the last aliyah, because then you make the bracha. If you were called up one of the middle aliyahs, you did not make a blessing. There's another understanding brought down by the Ritva of this Mishnah, that it wasn't every week somebody who made a bracha before, it was once a year. The person who got the first aliyah of Bereshis, they made a bracha before, and you never made another bracha after, and the person who got the last aliyah, there's a bracha, concluding the Torah, they made one bracha after. That's how some understand this Mishnah to mean.
In other words, you're saying that she only once a year say the brachas?
Correct.
Also, when you start off, actually, you
Correct.
start off the Torah, and when you end off the Torah.
Right. So it says, our Mishnah is ambiguous. Our Mishnah says, Hapeseach v'achosem b'Torah, the one who begins and concludes reading the Torah makes a bracha before and after. It's very ambiguous.
Yeah.
So does that mean once a week? Or does that mean once a year when you read the Torah? There's somebody who was one time, this person was known to be a very shady character in town. And he was a very wealthy person, but everybody sort of stayed away, gave him his space. So he's one time called to aliyah to the Torah, and the rabbi of the shul is next to him when he was called up for the Torah, and now they say, okay, you're making the Mishnah Berach, you got to give a big donation. Bavur Shenadav, and he says, I give tzedakah, all my charity I do in secret, in private. So I don't want to say out loud the amount I'm going to give. He didn't want. So the rabbi says, how is this possible? All the sins that you do in secret, the whole city is talking about it. But all the charity they give in secret, nobody ever heard about it.
He must have been a Kutzker Chassid.
Why?
Because the Kutzker Chassidim always try to make sure that the people would know about any bad trait they have, but anything good they did in private.
Anything good they did in private. Yeah. The story of the Kutzker Rebbe's son, that he was one time very sick and he was literally at the door between life and death. And later on, Baruch Hashem, he had a complete miraculous recovery. So his father asked him, tell me, when you were holding at those moments where you felt you're about to pass away, what was going through your head? So he said, I was thinking to myself that as long as I have my last strength, I should call out Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad with all my strength. But then I thought to myself, hold on, I'm going to scream Shema Yisrael out loud. Everyone around me is going to say, wow, those were his last words. And you say, wow, look how great he is. The last words with his last strength, he said Shema Yisrael. He says, the last thing I'm going to do is going to have haughtiness, show off to other people. The last thing I'm doing is going to be a little fake. He says, nope, I'm not going to say it out loud. And he says Shema Yisrael quietly to himself. When his father heard it, the Kutzker Rebbe heard it, he was so happy and he gave him a kiss and he says, now I know you're a Kutzker Chassid. So one time a Jew comes to a synagogue that he was never walked into before, and they're selling maftir, the last haftarah, the last aliyah, and they're auctioning it off. And he says a little small shul, with the old shtiba with a minion that's holding itself together, and the building is being held up with band-aids and duct tape, and his people are 20, 30, 60, 50, 90. He's like, wow, people are actually giving some amounts over here to the shul. Until the very end, he hears, okay, $1, going for the first time, second time, sold. Everyone is doing in cents, not dollars. So the Gemara will discuss this more, and halacha today is that everybody who gets an aliyah to the Torah, everybody gets called up to the Torah, makes their own bracha before and after. The Meiri writes that those who are the middle ones receiving the aliyah, so let's say the Levi on a Monday or Thursday, has to stay till the end, till the last bracha is said. So let's say 7 people were called, they all have to stay till the end, they have to be there from the beginning to the end. Otherwise, they're not yotzei. Nowadays, what's a halacha? Who makes a bracha when they get an aliyah?
Everybody.
Everybody. Why?
When everybody feel happy.
Mhm.
When it's all anybody, must be politically correct. So every single person makes their own bracha. It has to do with the fact that everyone gets their own aliyah today. Meaning nobody reads the Torah today. So it will end up being that there was the same person who's making the bracha every single week, right? It will be the Balkari is the one who makes the first bracha, and the Balkari will be the one who makes the last bracha. There's a Ritva writes, brings from the Yerushalmi, that you don't have to make a bracha for your own aliyah. For your own time, you're being called to the Torah. Someone else can make the bracha for you. So in this case, it will be the Balkari will make the bracha for you. But halacha is, when it comes to being called to the Torah, someone cannot make the bracha for you. Right? It's has to do whether it's what category of mitzvahs could someone be motzi the other, and at least an aliyah, someone cannot make the bracha for you. So when during the time people themselves will read the Torah, so the first one to get the aliyah will be the first one to read in the Torah. He will make the first blessing, and the last one will make the last bracha, the last blessing, because he was reading the Torah. But now, who's reading the Torah? The Balkari, right? The one who's the Torah reader for the entire congregation. And so how could he make a bracha for someone else? For the Kohen and for whoever's receiving the aliyah. And therefore, it ends up being that everyone makes their own bracha. Which one should make their own bracha? So it ends up being that every single person makes their own bracha. Okay. Now, yeah.
So the Balfora, the one who's reading, if somebody gets called up for Torah, they say the bracha.
Correct.
But the Balfora, who is saying is a shliach for the person who's saying the bracha,
Yeah.
he doesn't say another bracha.
Who, the Balkari?
No,
The person.
the person does, but not the Balkara.
Right, not the Balkari.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it because,
You're saying he's a shliach,
yeah, but he says no bracha.
but he says no bracha. Right, so but it's an important thing that when one gets an aliyah, if they're able to, they should read along with the Balkari. That's what most people do, that they mouth the words along with the Balkari while they're getting their aliyah. And that has to do with, you should be the one who's reading the Torah. Right, it's 11:36. We'll talk a little bit about the Rambam today.
Is it your phone?
Today is a Rambam's yard site,
Oh.
20th of Teves. 819 years ago. One of the main mefarshim on the Rambam It's called the Kesef Mishnah, printed on the side of most Rambams.
Wasn't that made by the Beis Yosef?
Correct, very good. Also your ancestor, I hope?
No, but I am related to the Ramah.
Oh. Okay, you're related to all the Ashkenazim, not the Sephardim. Okay,
Not as many Sephardim at least.
all right. Not as many Sephardim. So the Kesef Mishnah written by the Beis Yosef. There was one time a shir, a Rambam class, a shir that was going on, where all the Gevirim, all the wealthy people of the city would join the shir, would join the class. And there came someone, a meshulach, a someone going around collecting money, and he comes to join the Rambam class, the shir and Rambam. So the people at the shir asked him, Rabbi Yid, with all due respect, you don't exactly seem to be a person who takes an appreciation in learning anything, let alone the Rambam. Why are you joining his class? He says, I'm not here for the Rambam. I'm here for the Kesef Mishnah. Kesef Mishnah means double money. That's what it literally means. I'm here for the Kesef Mishnah. So today's exactly 1,819 years since the passing of the Rambam. There was just finished in December. I really wanted to go, but did not make it there, unfortunately. It's called the Exhibition of the Rambam. They never had yet, and who knows when it will be the next time, showing the Rambam's original Kisvei Yad, writings of the Rambam, letters of the Rambam, the original drawing of the menorah.
Oh, and they also recently discovered that the Rambam knew like one of the Spanish languages.
Yeah.
It's actually as far as like
his handwriting.
Writings.
Okay, well, if you look at this, saying it's not Hebrew if you read the words over here.
It's Arabic, huh?
Yeah, it's Arabic, Judeo-Arabic. Arabic with Hebrew letters. But this drawing of the Rambam was being shown as well recently. And of course, from there we see the Rambam's held that the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash was straight branches. And as the son writes, my father is drawing how the menorah is straight, not round, the word kana. The cups as well are upside down, according to the Rambam. As the Rebbe explained the idea of pouring. Yeah, here you see it a little more clear.
You know, the Rambam drew this?
This is a Rambam actual. This is the Rambam's actual Ksav Yad. This is from the Pirush HaMishnayos, explanation of Mishnayos of the Rambam, which is on the Rambam. Rambam has many different writings, right? He's had medical writings, his letters, but the Rambam has four main Sfarim, four main works. The greatest one, of course, is the Mishna Torah. The second is called the Second Torah, which Rambam writes that this, all you need is a written Torah, Tanakh, and this Sefer, and then you'll have the entire Torah. That's the only one the Rambam actually wrote in Lashon Kodesh in Hebrew, because it's wholly like the Torah. In addition to that, it cannot be mistranslated when you're translating into Hebrew, because it's written in Lashon Kodesh in Hebrew. You can't mistranslate it. The other Rambam's other writings, which are written in Arabic, could be mistranslated as Rabbi. Correct. So let's go into some of those.
Metaphors, and also actually recently, apparently actually when you're a doctor, you have to write the things down.
Prescriptions. We have some of the Rambam's prescriptions.
I mean, it was writing down actually like as far as actually different medicines, right? And it was written in actually what would be
in
the
Spanish
language.
Interesting.
So now we know that the
Rambam was Spanish.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, the Rambam lived in Spain. That's where he was born.
Yeah, the only thing
Rambam was born in Spain.
The only thing is that actually they didn't necessarily know if he knew actually only Arabic for the Greek languages, but now we know
that he knew other languages.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a pella on me. It's not really a wonder that the Rambam, when we know so many languages, someone who could write the Mishnah Torah and someone who could write the Sefer HaMitzvahs and the Moreh Nevuchim and the Pirush HaMishnayos, which he wrote when he was 16 or 18. You know, Pirush HaMishnayos, the Rambam wrote, and this is the drawing of the Rambam in the Pirush HaMishnayos. I think he wrote this when he was 18 years old. Who the Rambam's teachers are, we don't know for sure. A lot of, when he says, my teachers, which he disagrees
very much with his teachers many, many times.
Hmm.
They say it's generally either his father, Maimon, where he learned from. His father's teacher is a Rebbe Megash, who was a student of the Rif. I think Rebbe Megash, if I remember correctly, is buried in Svas. So the Rambam, they say, learned by him as well when he was a young child. There's many stories about the Rambam, which I'm not sure where the source is, that he wasn't a learner when he was a child, didn't learn so well.
An inspiration then, other people, just like Rabbi Akiva.
And then, but eventually, he was jealous of his, his father. He wanted to. His father was so like he didn't. It hurt his father so much that he couldn't learn that he ran away to his father's teachers, Rebbe Megash. But I'm not sure if that story has any basis in at least the Rambam's writings. You know what I'm saying? We don't see anything about the Rambam in his writings that I know of, at least, which hints to that aspect.
But there's always Rabbi Akiva, the great inspiration to beginners.
Correct. Well, the Rambam did not live very long. I think he lived to be 59. He didn't live a very long life. And much of his life, the Rambam was running away. He was escaping.
Yes.
He was escaping from many places. He had to escape from Spain because the Almohads were coming. He had to escape.
Escape from Eretz Yisrael because the Crusaders were there.
He had to escape from Morocco.
Passed away in Egypt, or?
Passed away in Egypt, yeah.
Yeah.
He had to escape from Morocco, the Rambam, because the local mullah that upset him, the local emir. So Rambam saying, so just practically, I mean, the time he came to Eretz Yisrael, he was already older. He was already probably 20 when he came to Eretz Yisrael.
But he had to flee because of the Crusaders.
I'm not sure if because of the Crusaders or he fled because of the poverty.
No, he fled because of the Crusaders.
Oh, yeah?
The Crusaders issue were ruling Eretz Yisrael.
At that
They had
time.
to leave then too. Yeah, especially remembering that the Rambam, she ruled that you're not allowed to live in Egypt.
Right. The Rambam signed a letter. I am Moshe ben Maimon. He lived in Egypt, who every day lives in sin. Every day I transgress 3 sins. So the Rambam's 4 main Sfarim is, of course, the Mishna Torah written in Hebrew, and the other 3 is the Sefer Mitzvahs of the Rambam. There's Moreh Nevuchim, Guide to the Perplexed, which is the Rambam's, you can say, ethical Sefer, and then there is Pirush Mishnayos, explanation on Mishnayos. There's many different letters the Rambam wrote. One of them is called the Geras Tchias HaMesim, the letter of the reviving of the dead. Anybody who is a revolutionary during their lifetime, they're going to have tremendous opposition during their lifetime.
That's why he wrote actually the Megillah section.
Yes, amazing.
Because in his word of Vuchim, he's trying to reconcile actually philosophy with Judaism, actually for those who needed it. And so the Tchias HaMesim actually wasn't having to do with philosophy, it was having to do with the Shem making a miracle. So automatically he was accused of not believing.
Correct.
Whole thing in
Opposition, not opposition.
So Rambam had tremendous opposition. As a matter of fact, one of his greatest opponents at that time lived in France. His name was Rabbeinu Yoina, one of the great Rishonim. And he even commanded that they should burn the Sfarim of the Rambam. Unfortunately, 100 years later, they says because they burnt the Sfarim of the Rambam, the punishment was that the French government burned all 24 wagon loads of manuscripts of Gemara and Talmud and Rishonim and the Bali Tosfos, unfortunately. But that's how strong the opposition was to the Rambam. For many things. One thing the Rambam says that this sefer of writing the Mishnah Torah is the only sefer that you need besides for the actual Torah. To pass in halacha, to rule halacha, the Rambam, instead of going in the order of the Gemara, he revolutionized. Instead of 6 svarim, 6 different orders of the Mishnah, have 14 different svarim. Some halachas he split up, some he put together. Gzeila, Gneva, Aveda, everything. The Rambam was very particular and exact, very orderly, very mesudar. But he changed around orders. And then
the Rambam's Mer Nevuchim Guide to the Perplexed, where the Rambam quotes a lot from Greek philosophy, Greek philosophers, and they held, many of the Gedolim, many of the great people at that time, that
I think you're frozen.
Rabbi, you're frozen.
You have to take over, Levi.
I have to take over?
Yeah, you have the screen.
What? Well, how do we get the rabbi back?
I don't know. He's off.
I guess we could leave and then come back in.
Okay.